So welcome back to the second part of our session, which will focus on, as you can see, finding your way into the gaming industry and research, and will be conducted by two of our students, Benjamin and Pulkit. And without much further ado, I will just hand the mic over to you.
Okay.
All right. So yeah, we're Benjamin and Pulkit, and we're here today to talk a bit about our experiences, quite different experiences, but also experiences that cross each other's path and either going into the industry or research. And yeah, so today's topic is talking a bit about that. And maybe for viewers who will chime in the recording, or if you don't know us already, though I think most people in this server will know us, who are we? So maybe Pulkit, you want to start?
Yeah, sure. So, hi, I'm Pulkit, and I'm unemployed. That's
Any
ironic.
of you?
Uh,
I'm just joking.
so, yeah, that's ironic because I'm here giving advices about how to get industry. But I have experience about nearly 6 years in the industry with working with 3 different studios, although none of them were AAA. Uh, and I've been on both ends. I've hired people, and I've also been hired. So yeah, and I'm currently writing my thesis. I've held roles for developer, designer, and a producer during my tenure in the industry. So over to you, Benjamin.
Yeah, well, my story is a bit more complicated. I added that picture actually 5 minutes before
I
because,
saw
like,
that.
yeah, yeah. I'll try to be brief on that, but I started actually my journey into my professional life as an archaeology undergrad student. And while I was doing that, that picture is, by the way, from Tel Aviv in Israel. It's an actual tomb, and we found bones. I don't even know if we were supposed to enter there. This wasn't part of the official expedition. But while I was studying archaeology, I kind of like, being a gamer, and I'm not saying capital G gamer, but being a gamer like for my whole life and loving games, obviously, well, I quickly picked up on historical games such as Assassin's Creed and so on. And I fell into a rabbit hole, which is called archeo gaming, and I also majored and did my degree on that. It's kind of anything that goes between looking at ancient board games and looking at historical representations in video games. When I finished my BA, it was clear for me I wanted to continue with video games and like this interface between video games, game development, but also education. So even in archaeology, it was always clear to me that I kind of want to do something in research, but also like education, basically, not just researching, but also finding ways to forward that kind of knowledge. And so I went to study game studies and engineering at Klagenfurt University. I'm just about to finish my thesis and hand it in next month, or in 2 months rather. And while I've been there, I started working at the KCGL as a tutor, as a teaching assistant, and also worked over a year in the e-learning service, which was also a very interesting experience if it comes to remote learning or remote teaching with tools such as Moodle or other remote teaching tools. While I've been doing this research, I applied for a scholarship. So in the meantime, maybe that makes sense to mention, I started researching or writing papers and essays on video games for about 4 years now. I have a record of 7 peer-reviewed published papers. 4 are currently in review and all in legit papers. I've been to over 20 conferences speaking there. So since I started already in my undergrad, I was pretty much already starting to do things. And when we will get to the part where we're talking about real advice, I'll get back to that. The point is, this enabled me to apply for a fellowship that allowed me to come to Columbia University as a visiting researcher for a gamification project, gamifying a workshop to strengthen soft skills, something like moral competence. And yeah, this is where I'm currently in New York for 3 months. And so this track record also helped me to get a position at in Warsaw at the Polish-Japanese Academy of Information Technology, which is a new media arts school in Warsaw. This is also a job that I didn't apply for, but I was recommended on basis of someone who was aware of my work and forwarded my portfolio without me even knowing to the dean of the institution. And I got then contacted. I got first a position there as a lecturer in design in digital design history, and now I was appointed the chief advisor in video game research because they want to set up an own game art program. It's a new media art school, so they graduate in graphics and they want to create like a specific track on game art production. And I'm supervising now a student project, but also advising the dean in setting up the whole program, which courses make sense to take. What I'm also doing is that I'm learning game development, especially game design and production in a games collective where almost like a lot of very talented GSE students collaborate on joint projects. And yeah, this is also what I'm doing. This is also why I'm not just doing research, but also started to develop. This is something I'll be talking also in a moment. And if you want to take a look at my research, yeah, this is where you can find it. So that's about me. And before we want to start, it was very important for me to point out something. So Pulkit and I have two different areas where we are trying to professionally get employed or start projects or have a career. But of experience, Pulkit has been working in these spheres for 6 years. I've been now in academia for 4 years, and I can tell you that the attribute that both of these realms share is that they're highly competitive. Those of you who know me that at my heart, I'm a I'm a Marxist or communist, but living in the world that we are demands like different ways in dealing with that. And the Austrian economist Karl Polanyi named in the 40s that one of the biggest social catastrophes in human history is the emergence of a self-regulating labor market. That means basically that he considered, and I consider myself this as well, putting millions of people on a job market where they need to compete for their livelihoods is probably one of the most terrible things that has happened in human history. But we are here. This is how things are. And yeah, there's nothing much to change about it. But what you can do is to learn a couple of things that will make it way easier for you to find a footing in this highly competitive environment. And this is, what the talk of Pulkit and me will be today about. And we will go about a couple of rules, right? A couple of rules and advices that might help you to avoid mistakes or get started either in research or in the industry. I've talked enough. Maybe Pulkit, you want to take over from here.
Yeah, sure.
Actually, sorry, if I can just jump in real quick, just so everyone knows, the audience, because this is also about you, so the audience, and your futures on the job market, please feel free to ask as many questions as possible once we talk about portfolios and job searches. And also you can tell us about what you want to do, what you're looking for the future. If you want to get into academia, if you want to work at a AAA game studio and so on. And then we can kind of also tailor our answers to your needs. So feel free to ask questions either via voice or drop them in the text chat if you want.
Absolutely. Mm.
Okay. Before I start, I do want to point out, Benjamin, you forgot a point that you're Freudian as well. Okay,
Yeah, I'm just Zizekian, but this is a different discussion.
Okay, coming to the topic, I think you skipped a slide, but why this session? First of all, I personally felt that people don't know what it takes exactly to be in the industry. And hopefully with this session, I guess and industry, I don't mean just the studios, but also in the research field. And hopefully with this session, they will have some sort of a direction, so to say. Also, I left my job in April, and I've sent over like 500 applications till now. So it's fucked up when it comes to finding a job. Yeah. And now we can change the slide. Yeah, so like I said, 500 applications. It's not easy to get a job in the industry without a doubt. And as a matter of fact, internships are even more difficult. So if you get to apply as an intern, there are many things that the studio has to consider before they hire you. So I would rather go say, and instead of applying as an intern, you can actually go and apply as a junior position role. When it comes to applying, there's a chance, like if you apply to 100 studios, 50% of that studio, they might even not respond to your application because they're flooded with it. And 40% of those people who respond to you, they say, we don't want you, thank you for your application. And the less 10% that are left, they call you for a first interview to see if you're the right fit for them. And when it comes down to it, you would be left with, I don't know, 1 or 2% of studios that actually are willing to hire you, but they have certain conditions. So and to even make it even more scary, I would point out one fact that I recently learned from a friend that is working in the Ubisoft, that sometimes they have openings in the studio that's publicly available to everyone, but the truth is that's out there just to show people. And in fact, those people that are hired for the job, they're internally hired. Like if
Yeah.
my friend is working in Ubisoft, they hired, he recommended me and I got hired, which is not the case right now, but yeah.
Mm. Yeah, this
So
I will just jump in here straight and say that this is the same for, yeah. I wonder if anyone who's in the industry or academia sees this and then we get like backlash in revealing these secrets. But I feel like I think it's that we have a real obligation here, because I wished I had knew these things earlier. And the thing is the same as for academia, is that if they put out PhD positions or like other lecturing positions, even tutor positions, in most of the cases they are put out to only fulfill the criteria of transparency, but they're like, they have already candidates. They are already targeting specific people, and they are then getting hired for that job. So like, applying in most cases is really not enough, but it's in having realistic job aspect, it means also knowing of for what kind of job you're preparing for, and then being able to kind of integrate yourself into a certain community. In the industry is bigger, but in academia usually you start up in a university or another research institutions, and you kind of work yourself in, right? And once you know people and people consider you competent, you will then be asked to, whether you want to take that job or not. Still do applications, but don't rely only on sending out applications as an anonymous entity outside of these institutions. So here's something where industry and academia, they unfortunately intersect.
Okay, I hope what you can tell us in this session will help us a bit to find out, how to get your foot into the door in both of those
yes,
areas.
sorry,
Now that
sorry to
we
shatter your
heard
dreams.
about the
Mm,
scary reality.
mm. One thing that I just want to add is with, which goes along with this title before we move on, is use LinkedIn, Glassdoor, or even just Google to find out which jobs actually exist. This is very important, and this helps you to kind of understand what kind of skills are needed. It's super cool if you have like a lot of knowledge about different
When
things, but specific jobs demand like specific hard skills. For some jobs you need to be presenting, for some jobs you need Unity, for some jobs you need Unreal. So make sure that you take a look at these jobs, and even if you don't apply for them, get an idea of what kind of skills you would need to apply for them.
Benjamin, we have a slide for that.
Oh yeah, all right. So well, then I will just continue, I think. um, yeah, using masters as a platform. So Pulkit, maybe you want to go on this.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
I can, yeah, could just go on.
Okay, so we have this master's program which gives you a lot of liberty to do various kind of projects, and we have seminars as well, which gives you like 6 months to make a game and then submit it. which is what we did. Benjamin and we made Distress, and also Tom was there.
Mm,
But yeah, I personally think that we should take this as an opportunity to make games, not just like game jam games, but also to take it to the next level. And this is the first thing I remember from our first meeting that we had when we started with Distress. I told them that, I don't want this project to look like a university project.
mm,
So that's one thing. And I also felt that uh, even when it comes to research or even in game jams, I've seen people being subjective towards what they want to do, like what they want to make. So if you have to analyze, they usually pick the games that's that they are interested in, that they
mm,
liked for as a kid, or they like it now.
mm,
And
mm,
that's not something we should be doing as we want to be in the industry, because one thing that you have to keep in mind, you don't have to be attached to your game at any point, be it
mm,
research, be it being in the industry. So that's
mm,
one advice that I would give. And once you have something, you have a good project, then take it to the next level.
mm,
Make people play test it. uh, I don't know, even giving 5 people a chance to play your game before you actually submit it to your seminars would actually give you insights that the 6 months wouldn't you couldn't get those insight in 6 months, because as a developer you're blind towards that. And once you have that, you would actually know what polishing is for a game. So
mm,
as a player, what exactly player wants. So if it's first person shooter or third person shooter, maybe the aim needs to be a little less sensitive. So all of that polishing would come after you have those play testing done with real players.
mm.
Then
Yes.
then coming to once the project is over, don't just leave it there. Even this is also true for game jams as well. Don't leave it there. Have retrospective. Think what went wrong, what went right, and how could you further improve on that. And this is a
Mm,
regular practice in studios as well. So it
mm,
actually helps you to learn from your mistakes and be more efficient in future when it comes to making the game. And then release your game, take it to various exhibition. And by releasing, I don't mean you need to put it on HIO. Try to push it out, which we didn't do. Try to push it out on Steam, push it out on Epic, and see what kind of feedback you get from them, because it's
yeah.
not easy at all.
Yeah, I think that this aspect of feedback, and this doesn't just work for game projects, but also for research, right? So bread and butter in research are academic papers. So it is almost a shame how many essays you write during your studies that could be potential papers written that can be published in a journal. I'm very very happy and proud to say that like Rachel led the way with the with our student journal to give like a platform where these essays could be then also published. But even if you think, I mean, this is like compared with quote unquote real journals. I mean, there are there are possibilities to get them out. I started in my undergrad years, and I had to hide that that I was an undergraduate, so that people wouldn't just straight away reject my paper. So I wouldn't even put in that I was an undergraduate. I would just submit a paper and see what these people would think about it. And these things were sometimes based on university assignments. Yeah, so you had the basis because you had to do the assignment anyway, and then you just expand on it. You just walk a bit the extra mile, and then you go along with that. And it's very important what Pulkit mentioned with feedback. You want to get feedback on your work as fast and as early as possible. I know it's hard putting yourself like out there, being judged by other people. That is something terrifying, but it is the only way how you can improve your work, because at the end of the day, people give you a job because you can produce something that other people would potentially use or buy. So you need to be aware of different opinions and be able to be patient with them and integrate them into your own vision to then develop something that is enjoyable or satisfactory for other people as well. And I think it's the perfect time to go over to the next slide, and this is again something which is for, I think, developers as academics who work in humanities or social sciences or like cultural studies, where you are also creator, you create works, right? And these creative careers, they start always unappreciated. Added that meme, didn't do it, it's just from the internet, but yeah, works on conference paper for months, no one reads it. Well, that's
It's the
just how
same
it
for
is.
gameplay as well. It's
Yeah,
same for the games as well. So if you make a
yeah.
game jam game,
Yeah, it's like it's really like a rite of passage, and this is something you cannot do anything about it, and it hurts. You put like your whole heart into your work, whether it's a paper or a game, and almost no one really appreciates it. The best you can get is like some feedback, like as an indie dev, you can get that in playtesting. As a young academic, you can get this on conferences. So for me, whatever paper I would be writing, it's like, yeah, no one was going to read it, but if I'm going to present it at a conference and provoke people to think about it, I will get a response, and I will see live on stage whether what I did was complete rubbish or it's viable and could be improved. The best, the best insights I got when people asked me um, really, really difficult questions about my research that made me really, gave me the impulse to improve my work, to then present it again and then iterate so far that I got a project completely funded, which allowed me to go to the US. And this was a project that I presented several times at different conferences until it reached the stage where this had a solid chance of receiving funding. And yeah, you just have to go through it, that no one will really care for what you do. And this is, I think, also something difficult to conceive. You're not going to get paid for this project at the beginning. Maybe Pulkit, you can also confirm this or go on a bit about that.
yeah. So, I mean, if you start in the industry, you have to work as a you need to show something that you're capable of doing something that the studio needs or whatever you're applying for needs. So, if you have those skills while you're doing your masters or even your bachelor's for that matter, it actually helps. And that's how I got my job in the industry, because I was making those projects while I was doing the bachelor's, and it really helps. So if you wait for your masters to be over and then you start, then people would definitely ask you questions. Okay, what can you show us? And that's the question that I would also ask from someone who's applying for a role at my studio. I would definitely like to know, what exactly skills do you guys have?
Hmm. Yeah.
and and claiming to have some, sorry when claiming to have something is one thing which studio might or might not agree on, but showing that you have those skills actually helps. So using this masters as something, as a platform, would I would definitely say can help a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And start as early as possible, because whether you're going to start your career with 30 or 40 or 20, it doesn't matter. You're going to go through this phase nonetheless. So better being through with it as fast as possible to get the point where you're actually getting paid. Because as you get old, I'm not discouraging anyone who decides to change their careers, like down the road, but also the older you get, the more difficult it will be to take a couple of years and start working on creative projects for that you're not getting paid. So use the time as a student, where most people don't expect anything of you anyway, right? You're a student, you're supposed to go out and party. But if you get to use this time, I mean, like, also take your time to party and explore life. Basically, this is also a valuable experience and enjoyable. But also, like, make sure that you use some of your free time to start working on this thing. Obviously, this presentation is for people who want to go into creative work, either academically or industry wise. um, However, like, if you want to do that, you have to go through this phase. There is really, at this point, no way around it. Yeah.
I mean, it's not always the case. If you're lucky, if your skills are good enough, then you can actually end up in the industry. But yeah.
Mm. Okay. Oh
So
yeah.
I'm actually curious about the people here today. What you're actually interested in doing after the masters? I'll just write in the text chat like the different paths, and maybe you can emote what you're interested in doing while these guys keep talking. I'll do that now.
Even if you don't know what you're doing, I think it would be important, or I mean, it's something important to share about or to admit, because of obviously before you start doing something, you also don't know exactly, what you're up to. And the thing is that there won't be this perfect, like the perfect storm, or I don't know how you call it, the perfect moment where you will be like, oh, I have this epiphany and I'm gonna go for this idea. Whoever's gonna tell you this story about how they found their job, they're lying. At least from my experience, it's just a nice story to hear. To really go for something that you decide that this will be your path or career, you have to have a leap of faith. You have to really like overcome this primary fear of it's not going to work, and you just have to have this leap of faith and be like, okay, I kind of think that this is interesting and this might work. And once you start working on it, if it works, you will see early enough if it's sustainable, because you know video game researchers also not something, like, oh, I'm gonna do this. It was just something that continuously happened. But at a certain point in my life, I was like, all right, I will try it out. I will try it out, and I'm ready to fail. I'm ready to fail. Um, and yeah, until now, I would say it worked out. So, mm,
So what I can tell so far from the emoting, no one's interested in bigger game studios.
mm,
The audience that's currently here. Interesting. Okay.
hmm Oh, this is, yeah, but I mean, I think the current environment, correct me if I'm wrong, Pulkit, but I think the current environment also allows for smaller studios for niche work in the overall gaming. I think AAA studios remain like the powerhouse of the gaming industry. It is what really drives everything and even made it possible. Like, if there wouldn't have been the success of AAA studios, indie development would have never happened. Like providing
True.
free tools for everyone to use, this wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, I mean,
Say that.
democratization
Yeah, go
would
ahead.
have only happened if we had a certain amount of people that were interested into coming into the industry.
Mm.
So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but right now you can definitely choose to make your own studio, or work in another indie studio, do games journalism, video game research. You can be an educator. These jobs all exist, but it's not that easy to get in these positions.
Exactly.
This is the point, right? Because these are all very niche jobs, and it's a very competitive situation also in research, because you have not that many positions that are well paid, and people who get these positions usually stay there for a long, long, long time. So it's like a very competitive environment where you really need to be able to show that you have like a competitive advantage, which would be hard and soft skills, which is represented by your portfolio, which I think is the right moment
I
to
mean, we're
segue
gonna
over.
come to that. We're gonna come to that.
Yeah,
I think we have some questions.
oh, sorry.
I just wanted to say I would guess that there's less interest in big game companies is also because of the recent developments uh, around that area and showing the dark underbelly of it, I guess.
I mean, that's true, but
Just part of it. I'm not saying like the entire thing.
that's probably the reason you got into the game. So if you've never
Yeah,
played like AAA games, I mean, I don't think indie games. I mean, I'm not discouraging the indie games, but they don't have those marketing budget to reach out to everyone there. So I'm pretty
definitely.
sure everyone in this course who has played games, they know games because of the AAA games.
Yeah, definitely. But the question was where you would like to go afterwards.
Mm. Yeah,
So
because
it's
yeah.
not to discredit AAA games entirely, but when it comes to this, yeah,
Mm. You mean
And
like
It
also,
might
afterwards?
be.
Do you mean after working at indie studio or after working at a trip
it was
where
just
to
in
work?
response to Rachel's question about what
Mhm.
are we seeing ourselves doing after this masters.
Ah, okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Also, the 5 people emoting is not really a representative sample, but still, it's interesting.
and also, I can say a few things that indie game dev freelance. Yeah, I mean, even it comes down to freelancing as well. If you've ever opened Fever or if you've ever opened those freelancing websites, you need to have some skills. You need to show that you're capable of before someone would actually be interested in paying you for the amount that you've asked for. It's not easy to get those freelancing jobs.
Mm, mm,
And here we are not okay. Today's session is not about shattering someone's dream or
mm,
being discouraging of what we guys are doing. It's more about like, okay, what's happening in the industry
mm,
currently, and how can because in the previous session I kind of got this sense that people didn't know what practical knowledge is,
mm,
and we are here to provide that practical knowledge from what we have experienced so far in the industry.
mm.
So
Yeah,
yeah, I wanted to
I
clarify that.
yeah, I also totally agree to Pulkit. I love what I'm doing, and for me it's a dream coming true. But I could have saved a lot of pain, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears if there would have been someone to kind of, uh, like, have like a strong hand and, shake me up and be like, don't do this or like do this. And it would have saved me a lot of trouble.
Okay.
Um, so I
Okay,
think,
can we move on to the list?
yeah,
Next slide, please.
yeah. Resume and portfolio, wonderful meme, right? So yeah, this is imagine your portfolio being your business card, right? Remember we talked about Carl Polanyi, you being in this hostile job market and so on. So the reality is that recruiters or employers, um, they don't really care who you are. Like I mean, it's something hard to conceive and something very drastic. But they don't care whether you're a nice person or in which kind of financial situation you are, or whether you're I don't know, like you're in a difficult social situation, whatever. Recruiters and employers, they have like one task, and to employ the best possible person for one job. As Pulkit said, depending on the size of the company or the yeah, how present the company is, they receive a lot of applications, and recruiters themselves, they are also looking for people on the web, or they get recommendations. And there are two forms of media that they look at, which is your CV and your portfolio. Your portfolio is usually something like a web page, and the CV is something like your professional biography. And um, these recruiters, they take as little time as possible. The moment that they find something in your CV portfolio that is unpleasant, whether it looks bad, whether it reads not very well, or whether it just doesn't feel right, they will just trash your application and go on to the next one, simply because they receive 500 applications or something like that. So don't use Comic Sans on your website. So the point is just, obviously now you might ask, okay, so what would they consider looks good? On the internet there are dozens of examples of how a good CV looks like, how a good portfolio looks like. I don't think that we have to talk here today about what kind of line spacing you need to do and which kind of images you need to have on your portfolio. It's all in the internet. Take an hour time in your calendar and browse these things and look at them, and you will get quickly an impression of what is the kind of aesthetic of that. And trust me, the design of it, and I hope all of you took the course on what was it? The course with Professor Ahlström,
Oh,
Standard
HCC,
computing.
HCC.
If you haven't taken the course, take the course. Watch the recording in double speed. He's a great guy. He
Pro
talks a
tip,
bit
pro
slow
tip.
though. But it's a great class, and I learned so much there in regards to design and how important it is to design things that are very easy for the brains of other people to digest, because you wouldn't believe what a difference it makes to have such a CV or the CV on your subconscious level, how your brain deals with it. And in a way, you want to provide something like that, as Drake says, or not something like that. And I got hired for my job that I'm currently doing in Warsaw, and I will be continuing this as a, I think, first half-time position to then take out later on the full-time position as a program director next year on basis of my portfolio, right? So I didn't even apply for it. I was basically recommended. Someone saw my CV, someone saw my website, and they chose that this looks good, this looks solid, and they hired me. Yeah, so Pulkit, maybe you can also share some experience.
Yeah, I'll try to keep it short. So resume should be concise. It should be to the point, and it shouldn't have unnecessary details about what you did in your high school. So
Mm,
it's really unnecessary, and all the details should go into portfolio. So if I'm looking at your resume, and I've done this as well, it shouldn't take me like more than 5 seconds or 10 seconds to see, okay, this is a good fit or not. I don't want to read everything that you did. I want to see what exactly you did and when exactly you did it.
mm,
So whatever I need to find, it should be in front of me in 5 to 10 seconds, not more than that.
yeah.
If you don't have a portfolio, then HIO is a good starting point. Have a updated LinkedIn profile,
Mm.
or
But we'll
even
get to
use
that.
art.
We'll get to
Yeah,
that.
yeah, we will get to that, or even ArtStation. So
Mm,
and or whatever you plan to make, have that link on your resume. It should be a hyperlink.
yeah,
It shouldn't
it
be
must
just
be
a text. It shouldn't
written
be
in.
like written over there and someone has to type it. It should be a hyperlink without a doubt.
Mm,
So
yeah,
and one
because
more
then
thing that
just to make it clear, they're going to click on. They're not gonna copy paste it. They will not take this
exactly.
second to copy paste it and put it in the browser. And I can tell you that because I've been talking with a lot of recruiters, and they're not gonna click it because they can save themselves 1 second and just like continue with a different application.
Exactly.
Mm,
So and your resume, it should also resonate, resume and as well as your profile, portfolio. It should
mm,
resonate what exactly the job you're applying for. For example,
mm,
if you're applying for a designer role and your resume says you're more of a tester, then you're more likely to be rejected than being considered for the next round. Also, at this point, I do want to point out in one of my posts in the GAC official GAC server, uh, it said that we should use Photoshop. I want to rectify that. I want to say that don't use Photoshop because there is this thing called application tracking system. So even before your application reaches someone who can read it, there's a software that has been used by AAA studios and also by indie devs, those the ones that are established. So
mm,
what it does is it scans your resume, and if you make in Photoshop, it's not readable for that software. So there are tools like Novo
mm,
Resume out there, and some others. I mean, if you look for application tracking system compatible resume, you would find 1,000 results. But Novo Resume is something that I personally use.
mm,
Uh, and one last thing I want to add here is don't have any contact form on your portfolio. If you have a portfolio, don't give the people an opportunity to submit that they want to, hire you as a potential employee. Just put your email over there because I've lost opportunities just because I had a contact form and I couldn't access it
mm.
in the right time.
Yeah, just have like direct
Email.
links. For example, I have just the icons of my of my accounts, like either emails or media and so on, and they can just click it and the link then just leads them over that. But yeah, contact form is not viable, and it's only going to get worse because automation is happening. So more and more companies are using these tools than actually having recruiters to really look through that. In academia, it's again different thing if you're having indie studios, but especially in regards to bigger studios or bigger companies in general, they're going to make more use of these tools. Yeah, maybe some questions to the portfolio itself, just to kind of open the room up for any comments or own experiences.
Let's have a look at the zero. I think people are more driven by creative ideas, drawn towards. Yeah, that's true. That's true. But there are different things. So if you're flexible with, if it's just an idea that a studio has, an indie studio has, and you're working there, uh, and if you want to work there, not working there, but if you want to work there, it would come down to the same question: do you want to work, at a less pay, or if you want to work, without any pay at that studio? So it's comes down to your personal preference. If
Mm,
you want it that way, then it's fine. You can go for the indie devs, and that same thing. It comes down to that. Do you have that time?
mm,
And if you don't, then you might want to look for something that has something, that give you some money back.
mm.
So yeah,
Yeah, and definitely it's worth the investment. It is an investment. Like for example, I am running a portfolio over a hosted website and I'm paying every month 10 euros. Instead, I've decided to have no Netflix. That's a sacrifice, but simply also because Monica is having Netflix, but sometimes, but we have only an account for one viewer, so we need to kind of share that, but I'm not using it
it's
that
not about
often.
Netflix right now, though.
Yeah, but well, I just want to finish that.
Hmm.
It's definitely worth the investment. If you think like, no, I'm not gonna like, rather not, I'm not gonna take the time. It will make things way more difficult for you.
Yeah, you need
Um,
to showcase your skills.
okay, so I'm very proud of this meeting. I had to laugh a lot when I made it. I hope it gives you also some joy. I think this is also what we already kind of pointed towards earlier. So polished assignments. Oh, well, there was another word written, so I
Mhm.
guess like
I told you that.
yeah, wait, I will just fix that. Um, integrate your wait or polish assign. No, we'll make it like that. Integrate assignments into your portfolio. Look, that doesn't work.
But I beg to differ on this, and I'll come to it when I get a chance to speak on it.
Mm,
So
yeah, just go on. Just go on.
So, I mean, integrating your assignment is a good thing. So, if you have anything that you can put it out there on your portfolio, it's good. But what my point was when I put polished out there was that, studios, they want to see what kind of quality work that you've done. They're not necessarily looking for quantity; they're looking for quality, and that's the criteria that every studio has. Even even if it's a research paper, it needs to be a quality research. It cannot be
Mm,
anything. It cannot be just
yeah,
anything that you just wrote down.
yeah,
So
but also like and this is I don't disagree with you, but I'd like to definitely also consider that you have to start somewhere. Your
yeah,
early work is not going to be good, and especially in regards of research, because researchers are very or most that I know are like very perfectionist. So they're not gonna publish anything that they don't consider 100% perfect. But the thing is, instead, I'm not saying like put out bad research. Do research as good as you can, put it out and get feedback on it and then improve, but make it a process. Don't wait till you have like this perfect idea, this perfect paper or game that you can publish, but learn by doing. And especially in regards to the horror week that the GSE students that started last year had a couple of weeks back, I think that this is something that could be categorized over here. So people who have to worry about their future while actually also having to work on their university assignments. So if you get if you take the time to think of how to integrate both of these things into one unified, coherent project, it might gonna end you up only with one of these kind of headaches, but not this kind of
Mm.
oh my god, my life is going to the dumps. So yeah, make sure of it that you sit down and before submitting a half-assed assignment, or even like putting all your energy into an assignment that has nothing to do with what you might gonna be doing in the future, think about how this assignment could help you to improve your skills. Yeah, on the way wherever you're going.
Yeah, I also want to take this opportunity to say like game jams are good. I mean, to show things that things how it's done and showcase your basic skills. But polished games, they show that you know how to finish things. So it's a big difference between game jam games and finishing a game.
Mhm.
Even if you, I mean, I'm guessing that game jam games are not really finished. And even the games like, I don't know, Baba is You, I don't know if you guys have heard, that was a game jam game initially. But those people, they didn't push it out there because it was a game jam game. They polished that idea, they worked on that idea, and then they put it out there. So finishing a game rather than being a game jam game, it's really a big deal.
Mm.
And the assignments that we have, if we take it more seriously and use those 6 months that we have to submit it and plan out a project with proper deadlines, it will definitely help because we will learn so many things that the program itself is not teaching us, first of all, which is the practical knowledge. And because it's really hard to work on a project for 6 months and work regularly on daily basis or a weekly basis, you will need a different kind of will and motivation to achieve that.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. I had a very interesting talk with Christopher Barney. I'm going to host a workshop next week on his game design patterns, and he is accomplished GDC speaker and an game designer and the director of the game lab at Northeastern University in Boston. And he told me that because I asked him, you know if he can give advice, because he's running there this program and the game lab for I think since 4 years, and he said the main focus, you have like two ways: either you're going to go that direction and let people just have this degree as something creative because they like games and they want to explore it. But if you want to really give your students a realistic chance of setting their foot into the industry or having job opportunities, you need to kind of push your students to really put out products or game or projects on a regular basis. They're having a BA program over there, not an MA, so 3 years is also more time to kind of do this. But along the way you should be definitely, because if you're then done with the degree and you have already, you've done already, let's say, 3 games, or you participated already in a couple of game jams, you submitted a paper and so on, you're definitely going to have higher chances, not just to get hired, but also start something yourself because you have the experience already. So definitely make sure to put out something. I think the I don't know if it was Sebastian who said it, or the other guy from the other cyberpunk game said that
And
make stuff, and I think this is very valuable advice. Make stuff, put it out, and make it visible. Yeah. Okay. So I think we can move on if there are no questions.
Do you guys have
showcasing.
any questions?
I think
Okay,
they're
no one has
a bit
questions. Okay.
scared now, scared to be eaten alive by the free labor
Real world
market.
art. Mhm.
Okay, Pulkit, you want to go on that?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, showcasing your skills is essentially what we were just discussing for like the last
Mm,
15 minutes. But essentially, it's just putting out your assignments, making. If you have a feedback on an assignment, put it out a polished version of it. So if
mm.
someone gave you, okay, this thing is not working, even if it's game design or game research, just polish it out with whatever feedback you got, and then put it out on, wherever portfolio you have. So
KCGL
that's,
student journals, for
yeah,
example.
that's also true. Or even KCGL, or if your game is out there on itch.io, then
Mm.
update that game.
Or ask
So
us to upload it on our page or to present it throughout the session. This is also why the KCGL exists,
yeah,
student-based platform. So yeah, to kind of help you to also showcase what you do and what you can. So yeah, take advantage of these opportunities, and there's obviously you will
I
have to
mean,
do the step
yeah.
to take the time, but there
Even
there
if
are
even
opportunities.
even if your journal is published on KCGL website, like the journal KCGL that Rachel holds, you can show that on your resume. You can show that on your portfolio, saying, "Okay, my journal was published."
Mm.
The people you're applying at, they don't really care where exactly it was published.
They're not
They
going to
they're never
read
gonna
it.
see it. Exactly. They
They're
just
not
see,
going
okay, you have something published. It's
to.
it's awesome. So yeah,
But
I mean,
yeah, but nonetheless, just because they don't read it doesn't mean that you have to not provide work, especially in academia. If someone finds out along the way that you somehow cheated, like that you either got published in a fishy journal, or that your work is actually not backed at all and just bad, uh, you will really suffer consequences. I don't know how it is in the industry.
it's
From what
insane.
I know is, but in academia, it's like, because it's the industry is a money business. Academia is a knowledge business. So people pay money for people to generate knowledge. If you turn out to basically have not produced any viable knowledge at all, this will, you will quickly lose all opportunities and your rank and so on. It's a pretty disastrous thing for scholars to happen. And throughout my career, I have seen few examples of this, how scholars had been completely discredited because of certain choices they did in their life. So even if no one's going to read it, make sure that if someone's going to read it, that this is solid work you put out there.
Yeah, and yeah, I cannot agree to that more. I mean,
Mm,
even in the industry, it's the same. You don't have to lie about it. You just have to prove your skills.
mm,
Also, if you have a portfolio, or if you have a LinkedIn, just detail out your work, what exactly you did. So if
mm,
you coded something, it's new in the industry, and you can just mention it on your portfolio and in your LinkedIn, or if you created something new in terms of art, you can have those links, and it's actually applicable to everywhere. So those links, they should be
mm,
hyperlinks. If it's
mm,
on your portfolio, the links to your playable games, it's without a doubt unnecessary. I mean, it's necessary. And if you have links to your art portfolio, or what drawings you did, it needs to be there. So
mm,
anything that you have, and it's really awesome to have those hyperlinks on your resume as well. So
mm,
it kind of helps you as an applicant, and also helps the studio understand, okay, these guys have some sort of an understanding of user experience. Okay,
mm,
it's subconscious. They won't say, okay, this guy put a hyperlink there, they have a good user experience, but it's kind of subconscious, and it kind of complements your applications, I would say.
mm,
So hyperlinks are really important.
mm. I think that this is also, again, as said, if some questions, please, feel free to ask anything that's burning on your tongue, even if you think that this question, might cross borders. I think that this is the session to talk about like these hidden, unwritten rules and things that might be not that obvious for anyone. Think though it's important to speak about these things, and yeah, this is get professional media, get also social media, and I'm gonna tell you why. um, I would say like there are a lot of things I wouldn't change going back in my life, simply because even some mistakes are important to do so that you can learn from them. But if there is one of the few things I would definitely change, is to definitely drop my ego and my arrogant perspective towards social and professional media, and I would have gotten these things already years back, because research or academia, before being scientific or professional, it's a community. It's a community, and where you have human beings, and they're not like, they're not these dignified and idealized researchers in white coats. They're just human beings, like you can just meet them on the street. And every human being is interested in social exchange. Every human being is interested in showcasing their work, receiving gratification, and all of these things. There is no way for you to be like to get anywhere only with marvelous and very good work in academia, but you have to always respect the community. You always need to be like a good contribution yourself as a person to this overall scientific community, which means, of course, in scientific work, but also in being a supportive colleague, and a helpful colleague. And this is and the thing is, because everything is international now, so you're not in the same institutions with most of the people in your research field. LinkedIn and more in Twitter, if it comes to games research, are the fields where you get the chance to support your colleagues and receive support by your colleagues. Make use of this. This is if you're into game development and research, LinkedIn and Twitter are mandatory. There's like no way around it. Like no way around it. Yeah, and but you don't use it for private purposes. So whatever you do on LinkedIn or whatever you post on Twitter has to be somehow related to what you're doing professionally. Yeah, so you need to consider these media outlets as a professional communication channel, to a certain extent. Of course, you can sometimes also post fun stuff, but if if you're branding yourself as a games researcher and you post things that have nothing to do with games, then people will be like, okay, why? And they're most likely gonna it's just not gonna fit in the overall understanding of this community.
There's a question in the chat.
Yeah, I was coming down to that in my section. So, yeah, Nick, I think it's good if you post it to Instagram because you have a lot of audience there, and if you use hashtags over there, there is a good opportunity out there. But I would generally recommend, if you send out your application, don't put your Instagram link over there.
But Nick is an
Have
artist.
Yeah, no,
And
I definitely agree.
no,
No,
it's like
no, wait.
Instagram is I would media arts department, and Instagram, at least in Poland, and all scholars outside that I know use Instagram for all their kinds of work. So
Well,
you know,
I,
but
I
not
don't.
post not your private Instagram account.
Yeah, that's one
Yeah.
thing. Don't use your private Instagram account. And also, I mean, it's good if you post your regular stuff that you've been working on to show your iterations, like where you started from and where you came down to. But at the end, everyone is looking. I mean, I know artists who have been hired via ArtStation. So ArtStation is the industry standard. So if you have a quality work out there that you've posted to Instagram, post it to your ArtStation as well. And
Yeah.
I know Roxy is there, and I've been pestering her to put a lot of stuff. But
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah,
Tell
that's
me.
mm,
but in general, I would say use your ArtStation profile where you put your quality stuff instead of quantity,
mm,
and put it that on your resume, put it that on your portfolio.
mm,
And to even if you apply at different studios, they have a separate section which says your portfolio link, your GitHub link, your ArtStation link. So ArtStation is probably the most the most used platform by the artist to hire more people,
mm,
to hire new artists that are coming up. And it's also, I think I have, no, I have one friend who was actually hired by CD Projekt Red just because they checked out his ArtStation profile. They didn't
mm,
even, he never applied to CD Projekt Red, and someone from the art side in CD Projekt Red, they were just checking the the
mm,
usual feed, and they just saw
mm,
that someone has posted this environment, and then he was contacted by that artist himself in order to apply for that role that was open.
mm,
So yeah.
mm. And not just like get these channels, but also and uh, this is something I've been now doing over 4 years. Go to conferences, go to conventions, go to expos, and I don't mean just like user expos and conventions, but for professionals. And there are a lot of them that are just free, or where you can get like a student discount to go there and get as many as connections as possible. Good connections. Why am I saying that? This is because you never know who like where this person you just met is going to end up, and what kind, like maybe they need an artist, maybe they need a developer in their future job, and they and if you made a good impression, and if you had a good talk with them, and if on the next day after you connect, you write again, thank you very talk. I really appreciate it. Let's stay in touch. Person is more likely to remember you and come back to you if they have an offer or something like that. I don't want you to consider like that there are a lot of people who would say that this is shady, this is dodgy, and you shouldn't be doing this because this is dishonest. Well, then either these people are shitting gold, or they have an, like, I don't know, are they going to money falls off the roof. If you're really interested in being able to pay your rent anytime soon, you'll have to do that, and that's totally okay. Everyone is aware that you're going to an expo or convention because people are interested in work, right, in a professional life. So no one will look at you like in this regard. I was like, oh, the student is looking like for a job. I see that all he wants is just my email address so that he can spam me. Quite the opposite.
You're
People
just
are
in it for the money.
yeah, well, no, people are pretty much impressed if you if you have actually the guts, especially if you're young and unexperienced, to approach these people. And I have almost only positive experience with just asking, like, especially after conference, going to people and ask them just for advice. Tell them, like, don't tell them your life story, but let's say you're at a conference, there is like a accomplished developer. Make sure that you come up with a good question, be attentive towards the talk, have a good question, go to that person after the talk, ask them this question, and then just introduce yourself like in the most minimal possible, and just ask that person, how did you start, like, or can you give me advice in my situation? And I met the most incredible people like that, people who are like in, they like already heroes in my eyes, and no one would disregard you or like reject you. Quite the opposite. They're then very impressed if young people approach them, and taking the time to go to a meeting like that while other people are playing games or having fun, um, to take interest in their own careers. And so far, I stayed in touch with a lot of people. I even received throughout the last years a couple of offers for collaborations and so on. I mean, most of them didn't work out because I had like different projects going on, but the fact is that you got contacted. A person thought about you when they were making up a project. So make sure also that if you enter this year to be kind, be respectful, and most important, don't waste the time of other people, especially in this highly competitive environment. Time is money, as the saying goes, and you want to really keep your words on a minimum if you have questions, and if you want to advise, keep it on a minimum, and don't ask a lot of questions to the same person over like long time. Yeah, but this is something you will learn, and you will fail at the beginning, but don't be afraid. That's just part of the thing. But most important, be always respectful in a professional environment towards like your potential future employers or colleagues. Yeah.
I have a question in relation to all of this.
Mm,
Should we have uh should we have business cards
Oh
mm.
when
yes.
we go into this sort of thing?
What you can have now, so in the post-corona age, LinkedIn introduced there's a QR code. So instead of just having a business card, you can pop up on your phone, on your LinkedIn app, a QR code that other people can scan, and they can automatically send you an invite through this. I've been using that simply because, but LinkedIn is not like for education. Especially tech education, people are using LinkedIn, but you need to check where your audience or your future employers on which platform they are. But what I can recommend, you use a virtual business card.
Hmm.
Use it. There are apps that are like QR codes that are connected to your email and other social media accounts, and this is good for two purposes. First of all, you save the paper or the money to do these things. I made business cards when I was still like in RQ gaming and so on. A lot of people like looked at me like, oh, that's so pretentious. But at the end of the day, people remembered me because of that. So there's this benefit. However, I would definitely go with this QR code, because also on the other side, you show that you're tech savvy, right? So if
Yeah.
you're dealing with tech, it shows already, oh, damn, that person knows their lingo.
Yeah,
Um,
I can also add on to that because I have my business card over here that I use, and it has a QR code at the back.
Mm,
So anyone who scans this goes to my portfolio, and it's really easy and it's handy for people to, it comes down to the same thing, user experience.
mm.
Roxy, you wanted to add something?
um, yeah, Benjamin's explanation at the beginning with the QR codes kind of cut off, at least on my end. So
Yeah, yeah.
I might have
Benjamin,
missed
you might want to adjust your mic.
Okay,
a few things.
okay. Yeah,
Like
so what I just said was that LinkedIn has a built-in QR feature in its mobile phone app. So wait, I can just show it to you. So if you can you see that? Yeah. So if you go onto my network, you have the option to go over here, and then you just go on scan QR code, and it produces like a QR code for you. And like that, you can just let other people scan it for you, and then they can directly connect. The downside of it is obviously whoever uses this has to have LinkedIn themselves. So as it makes more sense, there are a lot of apps out there that are just QR codes or even like whole websites that provide like a QR code service, and I would make rather use of that, or just make use of both. I hope that went now through. Is that okay with the mic?
the mic is
Yeah.
a little bit too close, but yeah, I've got
It was better this time though. But
yeah,
yeah,
I got most of the info this time. Thank
yeah,
you.
I do want to add that LinkedIn is a must, regardless of if you're an artist, if you're a designer,
Mm,
if it's a tester or a developer or a
mm,
producer. LinkedIn is a must. I mean, it's a
mm,
social network for getting hired. So if you
mm,
want to get hired, you need to have LinkedIn. Also,
mm.
coming down to
Best
Twitter,
UX, by the way. It has also, I would say, from best user experience for yourself.
self your experience, and if they find it useful, if they find it interesting, then you head towards the technical round.
Mm,
So before that, and if they don't find you useful, you're rejected.
Mm,
You'll just get a mail saying thank you for applying and so on.
mm,
So yeah, and once you clear the technical round, this is something I've noticed with producer and designer applications. There's also a new thing called cultural fit, which means that you are a fit for the team that you're gonna be working
mm.
with. So you're gonna have to interview with the people that you're gonna working with the team, be it designer, testers, or whoever. So the
Yeah, it's like
entire
looking
team
for
would
a
be,
roommate.
yeah, they would sit in front of you and then you would talk to them.
Mm,
And after this, you would get your offer, you'll get your discussion regarding the salary and everything. That's all I wanted to add.
mm. Okay, I'll then go over to the. I think we're already providing a lot of tips and tricks. I think it's too general, so let us just because we have still a couple of slides, so just let us go through them and quickly add something. This is something I think is extremely important. I think it doesn't matter whether you're into the industry, but for academia, it's mandatory. Because if you start up as a young researcher, especially if you start up early, and it's unusual to start as a researcher in your undergrad or graduate years, usually you start as a PhD student, so you need a mentor who vouches for you. And I'm not talking about um, a person you just like, and talking about a person who's at least a doctor or a professor. Because, as I said, there needs to be someone who checks your work before you actually submit it, and someone who vouches basically for you, because you have proper education like the other people there. So if you're just like a stranger, people will also treat you like that. The other point of that is that it can save you many years of your life. And I'm not just talking of getting one mentor, but get several mentors. Put your swallow your ego and put yourself. Put yourself. I don't know how there is this German word saying jemanden unter die Fittiche nehmen. It's like to put someone under your guidance, swallow your ego and accept the fact that you don't know as much as someone else, and be ready to be a student of someone, at least in regards to questions, and be willing to learn from these people. um, there's nothing wrong in this, because I know that especially in the humanities there's this vibe that you have to do by yourself, and and subjecting yourself to someone is a form of dominance, and this is do it as you want, but it won't help you to proceed in an acceptable pace through the academic environment. Get a mentor who checks your work, who helps you to get your applications ready, who can give you practical advice, and have several mentors. I had and have several mentors, and I still am always looking for someone where I can learn something new. So yeah, make sure that even before you start this whole research project, you have a person who's a professional, and that you can learn something, and that this person would even vouch for you. This is even better. Yeah, this is something I wanted to share. Anything to add, Pulkit? Otherwise, I'd just go
I mean,
forward.
that's your part. I'll have
Mm,
my own session, or not session, but topics of tips and tricks. So we can continue after you're done with your slides.
okay. Yeah, this is something. Yeah, professionals are human. That already that researchers or even developers, like dignified, sanctified saints who do this and that. They are human beings like everyone else, and they are attracted to bright and shiny things. So this means that instead of wasting your time on asking yourself why no one is reading your paper, but everyone is reading that shitty paper, what you think is shitty but has received like 300 of citations, maybe take a don't ask yourself why, why is someone interested in that, but try to find more rational reasons that might help you to maybe write your paper in a way, or present it in a way that will help you also to get more citations. As I said, it's not that researchers are looking for the best paper. They're looking for the paper that has received most traffic. And there are many other rules like that, the same that academia is a community. um, There are these, so yeah, after all, we're human beings, we're social animals, and these systemic relationships really govern how we work. Only after this condition are we actually professional. So keep that in mind. Yeah, do favors, collaborate, ask for help. Yeah, this is how I started research long time ago, and I kind of went then down this path. Yeah, do favors, collaborate, and ask for help. Um,
Basically, stay humble.
Stay humble, absolutely, Ruxi. That's that summarizes very well. Yeah, and yeah, but also be willing to do the extra mile if people need help, right? So this is like twofolded. On one side, be humble, be a good human being, but at the same time, let's not fool ourselves. It would be like a person that you have helped is more likely to help you if you need help, and that is okay. Don't consider this as like some cold tactical rationalization why you should help people, but at the end of the day, you have to pay your rent. You're in a professional environment, and this is just how things work there. So do favors, collaborate, ask for help, but don't get exploited, right? These people are also out there, so always make sure that there is like some form of reward for you, whether it's that you end up in credits, so it allows you to present this work in your portfolio, getting money, getting other forms of gratification, also gratification, but other things that might be valuable for you. So be always on the lookout to get this kind of benefit. It doesn't have to be always money, especially when you start up. It's most likely not going to be money, but also don't exploit other people, because people will find out about it. And I think we can see all how people who exploited other people end up being cancelled by whole society at the end. Trust me. And I've seen that. This is also I've seen over the last 4. If someone exploits someone else, it will come out. People will talk at the end. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but it will come out. And yeah, you might lose your job because of things like
Yeah,
that.
I do want to add on to this. In terms of programmers, people actually care if you have contributed to the open source community. So if
Mhm.
you have if you have your code that you've written about, I don't know, an image recognition, so if that's open source, then studios they actually care about it. That
Mhm.
you wrote a code for the that's available to everyone. And yeah, in general, also in studios, there are people who actually willing to help. So don't be afraid to reach out to them on LinkedIn, I would say.
Mhm.
And this is
Yeah.
something that I'm going to mention later on as well.
Mm. But always make sure that you know which kind of help you need. Don't waste the time of other people's figuring out what you. If you need help, be very precise about what you need and go to these people. Okay, I just have this one. This is an experience I made, or a conclusion I made on basis of my work from last year, or yeah, almost now, yeah, 1.5 year. I started as a theoretical games researcher, and I have become more interested in practice and development itself, uh, for two reasons. First of all, I think that real games research is the synthesis of theory and practice. You cannot be talking about a game if you have no idea how the game was actually really made. Then it might be something inspiring to read about, but if you're talking about down to earth research that can provide value for practitioners, you need to also regard practical and empirical research. Besides that, you're more likely to get funding. You're more likely to be respected by game developers, because game developers are very hostile to game studies people, because of the simple fact that they're talking a different language, right? It's a different lingo. So if you're a games researcher takes also interest in development and has even some form of experience with development, they will more likely talk with you, respect you for your work, and even help you. And I think, and this is also what I talk with a couple of game devs, that once game devs like had a certain education which I would like just to call articulate game developers, they're more likely to get into higher positions, because it just helps you, if you know a couple of theories how things work, to kind of integrate into your work process. So this is advice more like for the academic sphere, and now just going over to Pulkit's tips and tricks.
Yeah, I'll quickly go through this within like 2 minutes. So I already mentioned this, that LinkedIn is a good platform, and you can actually reach out to the people who are working in the industry. If you're applying, let's say, if you're applying for Ubisoft, and someone there over there, you can who is actually working as an artist or a programmer, you can reach out to him for help, and those guys, they're more than willing to help you, not just because they want to. There's also an incentive for them. So if they help you hire to be hired for Ubisoft, they get paid as well. So it's not like you're asking for a favor. And I'm not. And I want to say this, that you should point this out to the people that you're reaching out. Hey, here's my resume. Help me get hired, and you would get the bonus. But reaching out to them humbly, saying, okay, I'm interested in this position, and I've reached out to the HR. I've applied for this. Can you help me out with this position? So it for him, it's just like a mail away, or the
Mm,
HR might be just sitting right next to him having coffee. You can
mm,
just ask, okay, there's this person. Is he interested? Is he eligible, or do you find him interesting? What's with his application? That will definitely help you. And this thing doesn't goes only with AAA. AAA is just an example that I'm using over here. So it also goes with established indie studios. So, and also it's not just reaching out to the person from that department. You can also reach out to the HR in a humble way. Okay, saying, okay, I applied for this role, and it's been so many days. I haven't heard anything back from you guys. Is there any update on my application? So hopefully they would reply, because people are generally humble when it comes to these topics of hiring. And um,
mm,
yeah, if you get rejected in any of the roles, you can also ask the people that were hiring, the HR, or I don't know, whoever was responsible for that position. So ask them, okay, what I could have done better in order to get hired. Don't
mm,
expect any reply for them, because for them, they have a lot of application. But if they replied to you, it's a gold mine. You need to
mm,
know, okay, this is something that I really need to work on. I'm not
mm.
really sure if it's the same for academia or not, but if it is,
Mm,
then it's actually a gold mine.
feedback is always a gold mine, and
Yeah,
I can also agree with full heart to Pulkit that um, always ask, send out emails. Like, I like I've written so many people, and obviously only like the tip of the iceberg answers. But the worst thing that can happen is that you're just basically that the person ignores you, or
that's already happening.
that's
It's
the
already
worst that
there.
can happen.
Yeah, and if you
Uh,
did, that's the best thing.
yeah.
And uh, yeah. So before I end this, one thing, it's not really related to any of the talks that we had, but this is something that I learned from my last job, and that was a bad job, not in terms of because of the role, but because of the stress that it brought to me. So uh, I just want to say, if you get hired for a role that's it's giving you stress that you don't want to have, you have the liberty to quit, and you can just take that liberty. And no one, I feel no one has the right to stress you out in a way, like at least in a professional way, if you don't want to. So be it academia, be it industry, be it anything, even yourself, if you're working on something, don't stress yourself out. And if it is stressing you out in a wrong way, then just quit it. It's not
Mm,
worth it.
yeah. Yeah, the last thing that I will just add goes very much in line with Pulkit is your body and your mind,
Yeah,
your spirit, whatever you believe in, will notice if something is going wrong. Like if you feel bad with your current condition or your situation or your job or whatever, but best thing that you can do is to reach out to people and ask for advice, especially in regards to the professional environment. Let's say you have a problem either with getting a job or being in a shitty job, or like being in a situation, and not just like that the job is too hard, but even if we're talking about things like being harassed or being mobbed or whatever, like you just feel uncomfortable, reach out to people and ask them whether they have, like, someone they can forward you to, or they have like similar experiences you can share with. So make sure, like, email like email, like the Google Mail is my best friend and has been my best friend for the last years. Reach out to people and make use of the experiences that other people have had already, and never be shy to kind of not ask for help or advice.
Yeah, and we are here to help you regarding the job aspects in industry or academia. And I don't think any of you guys were stressed out about this, although we did touch some realistic aspect, which I think it's good for you guys to know. So yeah.
Okay, thank you guys. That was a lot of information.
I know.